Hello. I'm here. My iPhone is not working. Let me see. Sorry, I was a little busy today and I couldn't get everything 100% before I went live. Greetings from a black screen. Does the overhead cam work? No. Yeah, it works. Okay, that works. Hello. Oh, brother. All right, let me click that. Hey, Merlin, how you doing? Well, I need to find a better solution for that iPhone app doesn't work consistently enough. Live now. Okay. Hey, Zombie Geek and Spencer Chamberlain, how you doing? All right, let me put this up there. Well, this is going to be kind of a difficult thing, and not really, but yeah, I've just got a bunch of stuff on my my desk. I've been kind of trying to clean. I'm just giving the iPhone app one more try. There's some weird thing we can try. I know. I'll be with you guys as far as what we're doing tonight in a second, but let's see. What was this called? OBS Cam? iPhone app. Then we can do this. This. There's like a weird... Where is there like a wiki or something? Docs. Help in docs. Okay, USB. All right, we downloaded the plugin. Did this. I have iTunes running. There's like a magical list that works every time. If you're having issues connecting, this. Plugin no longer loads. How can I stream? Change the answer? Nope. Go back. Ugh, this is cringe. I'm sorry, guys. There's no connection. Waiting for connection. Okay. This stupid thing, list of things. Well, I can't close OBS Studio. Whoops. But I can close the camera app. And I can't reopen it. So it's already open. Okay, now we open this app on the phone. And now we plug it in. No, absolutely not. Why would that work? Okay, this is what I'm talking about. If you wait a minute. Oh, I have this app, and it has this. It's basically just a USB through the Thunderbolt. Jeez, it'd be funny to work now. But sometimes it just doesn't connect, and it says waiting for connection even though it's connected. And so there's this like weird dance you have to do with having iTunes installed and this and that. Well, whatever. We're winging it. Sorry about that. I got to figure out a better solution. All right. So, hello everyone. Hope everyone is doing well. I know this is a different stream than normal, or than the usual recently, I suppose, with the morph stuff, which is fine. Guess just taking a little break, and you know, I've already said that one of my goals this year is to finish this whole project, this whole thing we're going to talk about tonight. I've already 3D printed the case that it goes into. Kind of has a cool 3D printed design. Maybe we'll take a look at the website and kind of show it off. I guess we'll do that. We might as well do that now, since I can't really show my face or anything. Well, you know what? Should I also talk about? Well, maybe we'll do that at the end. I did manage to watch a little bit of Voltar's morph video, and I guess I'll say that Well, I don't feel it was maybe 100%. What's the word I'm looking for? Independent. It was fine. Like, you know, I understand that there's some hard feelings, not hard feelings, but just, you know, there's not unpleasantness between them and Pixel Effects. But I think overall, he was giving his best attempt. That's what it looked like to me, as far as trying to. And I don't really like how he called it a review. I don't really think you can review something. I mean, this is just a nitpick, but I don't really think you can review something. I don't know how long he's had it for, but he was kind of doing what I was doing, you know, just testing different consoles and things. I also have some tea, and you know, just giving, you know, when things went wrong in certain circumstances, then he would just talk about that. So yeah, it was fine. But, you know, I'll watch more of it. I did take a few notes. I don't know. We'll talk about it at the end, I suppose. Hey, Ian. How you doing? All right. Let me pick up. Let me get the documentation here going. I don't remember where I even first saw. I'm kind of not freaked out, but like my face cam not working is making me a little not happy. So. Let me find, so let me go to here. Okay, so this is the person that is behind this whole project. And now if you go to their GitHub, there's a ton of different repositories. So we'll kind of go over what I think is this kind of collection of being one project. But it's Sergey Kiselov, and I couldn't find their Twitter or anything if they had a Twitter. They do have their own website. Maybe that's where I saw. Anyways, this is kind of like a list of the projects that they're working on. More like they're in a date order, right? Like things they've worked on recently and back. So it's possible that I've heard of this monster floppy disk controller thing. So it's possible that I got to there from here. I think also in the past I was looking up at least some XT IDE stuff, so they might have an XT IDE. I got an old, Merlin Shaw says, I got an old Toshiba satellite laptop and have been running DOS and DOS games on it. Has brought back some great memories. 8088 build looks interesting. Yeah, so I think this is going to be kind of I hate to say introduction, because I really think that if you are trying to get into retro games, then older is not better. Like if at least if you were not in the time period, or you didn't grow up in the time period when these, when at least this particular type of computer, so like IBM-PC and XT class machines, like I was not alive even in most of this decade. Actually, I was born 6 days into it was 6 days into left of 1989. I was born on December 24th, 1989. So did I just dox myself? Oh well. Anyway, so it kind of gives you, I've skipped over that entire generation, and it wasn't until Pentium 1 that my dad bought a computer for our house. So, all right. So I guess I'll try to talk about. Let me find that picture, and it kind of shows the whole kind of setup. Maybe it's one of these repositories. That's one of the gripes that I would say about this whole thing is, here it is, the case, is that it may be a little disorganized because it is multiple different projects instead of like one kind of LED thing. So here's a cool picture of a finished product, and it, there's sort of the ability to put like an acrylic side panel too, so it kind of mimics a new, sort of a new computer style, but it's essentially the same hardware as a IBM XT and an AT. So we'll talk about what that is. I guess we'll talk about what that is first. So, all right, maybe we'll talk about. So when I started getting back into retro stuff, kind of more recently, and I can't, I can't show you my face because my webcam's dead. I could plug in this old piece of garbage. Wait a minute. Okay. Except for I don't have any more USB ports. Well, this is a problem. Oh, I can unplug that because that didn't work. Yep. Hold on. Hold that thought. Hello. Hello from under the stairs. So, this? Hello? What? I don't understand. This, why? Okay, well, that's not working. Okay, fine. All right, fine. We're I biffed it. I'm just gonna talk with my hands here. Hello. Okay, so I guess I'll get, like I said, my beginning. Okay, maybe I'll draw a picture. Is that stupid? Maybe not. I don't have any paper. Let me get some paper. Okay, so we're gonna do like a timeline between. We're gonna do a timeline between like. It's helpful to know where this fits in. I kind of was thinking today, how could I relate this in like console time period? So like, I would say the original IBM PC and XT was like around the NES era. So I would say if this is, so let's call this the timeline, the sacred timeline of gaming. We'll call this, well, let's see, what was the release date of the NES? I don't know. Let's call this like 1980 something. This was like the NES. But at the same time, IBM released the PC. It was around this time. And the XT. And these weren't like home computers, really. These were for people to do office work. It's a different button on this 12 remote. Oh yeah, you like my... This is my life now. Trying to keep track of all these remotes every stream. So that's my life. Okay. Yeah, so these weren't really... I would not call the original IBM PCs like gaming computers, right? So they would probably barely... most of them were probably black and white. And so they were really for business and not really for gaming. But... I think kind of fast forward, and you'll have to, I think maybe, what's his face? 8-Bit Guy. I think he has a good, I don't know. There's you can also just read about the story of how, I think it was Compaq, how Compaq reverse engineered the BIOS of the IBM PC. See, the IBM PC's fall was that it used off-the-shelf parts. It really didn't use custom parts other than the BIOS. The BIOS was the only thing that was... Okay, so this is like 85. The BIOS was the only thing that was proprietary, I guess, at the time. So, fast forward a few years, and this, I kind of looked up what processor the IBM PC. So, like, that would be this... I'm not like a CPU whiz, right? I know the NES has a different style of CPU. It doesn't, it doesn't have the same kind of thing. But kind of very quickly, we went from, the IBM PC to like 286 computers. I have a 286 clone machine, and I have an IBM. I guess this is also the XT, because the difference between the original PC and the XT was that the XT had a hard drive, built-in hard drive. Otherwise, you'd have to boot from DOS every single time that you loaded. So the IBM AT was the first IBM PC, and I guess it's really the last. It's kind of the last. I mean, it's not. It changes. They had other lines of computers going forward, but I would say that this is where cloning kind of took over. Like the same generation, the 286. So I have a real IBM AT, which has a 286 processor, but I also have a clone one. So as soon as companies started being able to just reproduce everything, almost everything about what IBM kind of offered, it was sort of just a race to the bottom, and that's how pretty much most of the computer space happened, at least in North America, as far as I know. I think it was pretty much this story. So then you go on to 386, 486. And that's like, that's what I would say. I don't want to say retro, but like this is like, 386, and then 486. So then this is Pentium going forward. I would say that this is probably the divide. If you're interested in getting into computers, it's really difficult to get in before this, because Pentium and later, I would say if you're at all familiar with like Windows 98, you'll be happy this way. If you go this way, 486, you're kind of stretching things. I don't even really know when Windows, it was probably Windows 95 might have run on 486s, but it was really Pentium and going forward for Windows, basically. So here on out was pretty much DOS. We'll just say DOS. I don't know. This is a dumb drawing. And this is Windows. So as far as a gateway into playing DOS games, Pentium is great because you can still play DOS games from this generation. So like Pentium 1 and I would say probably Pentium 2. If you're looking for something that can play the 3D games at the time, so like Quake and stuff, and you might have some decent compatibility with DOS games going back. I missed the Logitech Harmony remotes. I have a Harmony, it's just, yeah. I had an 8088 with dual 5.25 floppies, then upgraded to 286 with Hercules, then 386. Wow, you really went through every single iteration. Computing, man, I mean, I hesitate to really, I don't really call it fun anymore because parts are super expensive and there really isn't that much innovation. I suppose there is, we had Ryzen and all these other super high core count PCs and stuff, but it's not like this era where everything's weird and there's, you've got ISA and you've got PCI and you've got AGP and like all these different weird connectors and things. So Pentium equals x86, kind of. Another nickname for Pentium, I mean, these are all x86, basically. So the difference, I read that there is an 8086 as well. So that's the 186. But I think the difference is the memory bus. I think the bus is higher on the 86 or something, but I think these were cheaper. So these were, they're not like cores or anything. We didn't get into multiple cores until well into what, like Pentium 4? Or no, was it Core 2? Was the first time we had multi-core? Or do we have before that with Pentiums? So technically this is all x86 architecture. This whole, everything and kind of going forward for the most part. You have new features, a new CPU, what do they call it? The not libraries, but the features of a CPU. They get more and more as you go forward, so you can't really go back with newer hardware that much. But x86 is an architecture that is still in use. Yep, Core Duo I think was in the first core. So this kind of goes up. Single core goes from here, and then Pentium 1, and then if I kept the drawing over here, 2 and 3. Those were really kind of more like also business class or like professional. Like let's say you were because that was about the time when like people would start doing, like I'm sure it was probably in the 80s, they would do computer, like CAD or maybe even like video, like CGI work for video. Probably would be done on these kind of like higher end. So you can get Pentium 2 and 3 systems that have multiple slots. So I guess because Pentium is pretty much in slots, the Pentium 2 and 3. So you could get multiple CPUs, physical CPUs in it. So that's like hardcore, like you really need really good performance was up here before Pentium 4. Pentium 4 was when things started to begin getting samey. My first computer was a Tandy Coco 2. Yep, color computer. I would like to get a Tandy someday because I know that they have the unique sound capabilities. Like games are written. Some DOS games had a Tandy flavor that would run on their fancy integrated sound card thing. Yeah, processor extensions. I guess like the there's another word that I can't remember right now. Whatever. So you had like MMX and stuff was around this Pentium age, and yeah. So multimedia and online stuff is like this going forward. All right, so from my experience, so let's ignore the Windows and beyond. So we're in DOS land, hardcore DOS land. There's multiple different versions of DOS. This particular video is not going to really cover DOS, but I just wanted, or how to use DOS, but I wanted to frame what the importance, I guess, of the Micro 88 is. So if you've ever seen what an original IBM XT, so like let's say you wanted to go to the NES, let's say, NES sort of era, there were some games, right, that I played. King's Quest, there's a King's Quest version here. Burger Time, there's a whole bunch of, actually if we go to, what is it, Moby Games? There's a website that has, yeah, I think it's this. This Moby Games website is kind of cool. Then we go to Browse Games. I swear we're getting to the project, we will. And then we do platforms and then DOS, probably, or PC DOS. DOS. And it has a cool list. You can kind of go through all of the game. I mean, this is page 1 of 444 with it's 8,000 titles that they have. And you can kind of go like year by year almost and see what is out and what's popular. It has some of these like, I don't know, this is Moby Score. So if you're looking for like cool or new DOS games or something, this is a cool list to kind of like give you some inspiration. But we want to look around, like, let's look from, like, 81 to, really? No, get out of here. It looks like 89. What? What? What is this list? Yeah, from until, oh, can you only do one way? Oh, okay, here we go. So this is every game between 1981. Yeah, C-DOS, run, DOS, run. Yeah, indeed. You did dual 486 CPUs with WinNT. Dang. Hey, Reventlow. Tandy. Yes, Tandy was Radio Shack. Yep. Yeah, yeah, alterations. Yeah, you're right. MMX 3D now. Okay, so what would be like an older game? So this is all the popular games. Let's get out of here. How about like 85? Was it really anything? I mean, you had a lot of text adventures and things. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I think Zork is also a text adventure. But like Ultima, you're beginning to have, I mean, these are going to be like, the quote-unquote better games. Ancient Art of War. So there's a lot of games in this time period, right, that, you could run DOSBox. That's a definite option. But it's not the same, and you don't get the experience. I feel like a lot of people that do like retro gaming stuff, they like retro gaming for that, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's just a little bit of modding or like using a scaler or something, you're physically interacting with the real console, a real thing from, whatever, 1985. Load stacker to double your drive space. So I realized, though, if you try going to look for an original, and so I wouldn't even recommend buying an original IBM PC unless you were a collector. Like, I barely call myself a collector, and I bought I have the 286, so I bought a computer that had 386 recently. I bought one that had a 486. I had, when I was a kid, I had a Pentium, so I wanted to fill in the gaps to kind of complete my collection. But I have to admit that the capabilities of these kind of, original IBM PC, and then even the 286, I had the 8 megahertz 286 in a real IBM AT. The performance is still lacking. You're going to struggle running some, certain games that are hot, like 3D, that have any 3D, if at all, right? So this is more for like 2D games and stuff. So I kind of relate this to like the NES, I suppose, of this stack. 386 is nice. It's kind of like, 486 would be like the beginning kind of 3D gaming. I mean, you did have some, like, what was that game, that driving game? Stunts. Like, it kind of barely runs on a 386. It really also depends on the video card that you have. But there's you have limited, like, configurations that are like, worth doing. You don't put, you wouldn't expect to put a high-end, like, VGA card that you might have had in like a 3D system or something, you would not want to put it in here. It's just going to be wasted. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't, you know, have it in our collection, I guess is what I'll say. So if you haven't noticed, the prices of these things, let's see. Let's just go to eBay. I know this is kind of risky. Not risky, but I don't want to leak any info. So let's type in like IBM X, just an XT, because the XT is the first one that had I guess it's not terrible. This one looks complete, ready for restoration. Okay, so that's actually not a terrible price. The other thing you have to know is that if you want to look for the IBM-PCs, they had this numbering scheme. So 5150 is the XT, 5160 is the AT. So if you wanted to, we really should put 5150 in here, because we might get other stuff like stuff. I guess it's not terribly expensive, but the problem is not necessarily the expense. The problem is then you've got to get it working, get all the other stuff working with it. And, you know, if I'm being honest, I don't know if, you know, I do not recommend people trying to get like MFM and like old hard drives working. I guess if it has floppy disks and it came, like let's say you bought a system and it had floppy disks, or floppy drives, I mean, and it came with DOS boot up disks, I guess you could be happy with that. You really don't need anything, assuming all the parts work. Because really all you have to do is boot DOS, right? We're in IBM land, right? Or in IBM-PC land, where you just boot DOS from one of the drives and then switch to another floppy drive or a hard drive or something to load your games and things from. So it's really not that complicated of a setup. But the huge downside of these, besides the price, which is not terrible, you know, it is a lot of money, and cheaper than this project will probably end up being. Well, not with all the add-ons and things, but it's heavy as hell. You do not want to, like, if you have no room already, then you're gonna not ever want to buy one of these. They do look cool, but they are definitely desk consumers, right? Because they were kind of meant for a big CRT monitor to sit on top. So anyways, and as you can see, this one looks like it's been outside for a while. I would not want to buy this one, but we want one, right? We want to mess around with it and see what the capabilities of it are. Oops, did I click the wrong button? Okay. All right, let me just catch up all the games I've been running have been years 90 to 95. Oh, on your 486 to DX66 is I'm on the most versatile platform for DOS games. We don't talk about cost in retro computers. Well, see, Alteracious, the thing is, we live in such a crazy good time for open source projects, right? Like, people that have all this nostalgia for these old things, and that drives even retro stuff, right? People have this nostalgia for the old stuff that they used to have when they were younger, or maybe they still have it, and they want to get the best out of it. They want to see how they can improve it for, you know, not only themselves, but, you know, other people. So I guess that's where this project comes in, right? So imagine if you could have one of these. Well, there's actually more. There's more to it. All right, I guess we'll talk about the project, and then we'll because this I guess I should have talked about this earlier, but this video is sponsored by PCBWay. We'll kind of talk about PCBWay more in a little bit when we talk about the project. But I just wanted to say up front that this, you know, they produce the PCBs that I'm going to be using, and they mailed them out to me. So big shout out to them. There's a link in the description if you want to check them out. But we'll talk a little bit more about other things they can do, and yeah. So we'll get back to PCBWay. But thanks anyways. All right. So where's our okay? So this project essentially is to create a brand, as much as you can call a brand new IBM PC, right? But it's sort of like the Opentendo in the fact that you do need original chips, some original chips, and we'll talk about what those are. But for all intents and purposes, most of the components and the PCBs and stuff are going to be brand new. And you can even choose to not use if you wanted to not use a real floppy drive, you could use open flops or GoTech. So you can have a brand new USB floppy device thing, which, that's really handy for me, being able to use it, just being able to put stuff on a USB drive and then just off you go, loading stuff. So definitely handy. You can jam a CF card in that XT, no problem. Right, yeah, so you can modernize, I would say, you could definitely modernize an original IBM. So like I said, I modernized my AT. I put what did I do? I had to put an IDE card into it so that I could load a CF to IDE card, so compact flash. And then I have an XT IDE ROM boot thing that loads the IBM or the XT IDE thing, so that you can get large. You can DOS can actually recognize and use large the compact flash drives are probably an order of magnitude larger than any hard drive at the time. You're hoarding XT CPUs. Actually, these use ones that are different form factor. You'll see. Yeah, because believe it or not, I mean some companies actually still use older hardware that have been remade into like embedded systems because maybe their systems were old and they didn't really want to upgrade, so they chose to just make new hardware using the old parts, old spec. So there's all sorts of weird, entire board PCs on a board. So that's kind of what this is, but a little bit more separated, and we'll talk about it each little part. Okay, so let's talk about the whole project, I suppose. So you already know the case. That's where we are here, and this is the first thing I decided to just get a head start on. So I 3D printed the enclosure. I didn't print the buttons, but there is a start, I think, a power and restart maybe on the front, and some LEDs, and it's got a PC speaker inside, which is kind of cool. I thought someone had made a floppy hard drive emulator to network share interface. Ooh, that's interesting. Have I seen the throttle blaster from Scrap Computing that allows you to slow your CPU down to play speed sensitive? That's interesting. Hey, Bartleby. Okay, so let's talk about what the two main parts are what we're going to work on tonight. Okay, so the Micro 8088 is, well, I'll open both of these, is really this part. It's really the CPU part of this whole thing, but it's more than that. It's really, it's the CPU, it's the memory, it's the boot ROM, or the one of these. I'm not sure if it's these two things. I'm not sure what these do, or maybe it's this. This looks more like a ROM, and the memory, and some other things. It has onboard PS2 for a mouse, or for keyboard, and it has, I guess, a built-in reset switch in the back. So this already is, you can see the modernness. That's a bad word, but if you have an IBM class PC, like either a PC, an XT, or an AT, there's a chance that you're going to have an AT connector. Actually, I think the PC and the XT have a different connector too. But the AT connector, the mouse AT connector, is it's like a bigger port than PS2. So the PS2 port, I think, actually does come from the IBM PS2, I think, which was one of the follow-ups to the IBM. Anyway, so they name a lot of this stuff off after IBM stuff. So you can already kind of tell that this was aimed to be first of all, super compact, right? It actually makes use of this chip here, this Faraday chip. It's a chipset that has basically everything integrated into it. So it's normally, if you look at a real IBM-PC or AT or XT or whatever motherboard, is just stuff all over the place, right? You see a ton, not discrete components, but you do see a lot of logic chips and stuff on the board. And as computers got smaller and more manufacturers got involved, Intel and things, they would start developing chips that would kind of accumulate a lot of the functionality into these smaller chips. So I guess they had more features inside of one chip. So this basically the smallness of this project is enabled by using this Faraday chipset chip. So I've got one of these, and the 8088 that we've got is this is a real one, I believe, in this picture, but I have a, let me see, let me get my bin of parts. Yes. Okay, we'll look at the PCBs in a second, but so this is the processor that actually I think they sent me when they sent me the Faraday chip, this Faraday chip, which if you are going to be, these are not. Oh, I think that these were kind of expensive, or at least this might have been. It might have been 30 or 40 or 50 bucks or something. Early mice use DB9 serial. Yeah, I've heard of what is it called, bus mouse or whatever. So I have the Faraday chip. So that's kind of the most important thing that enables you to build this, I suppose. But here is a CPU. I think they sent this to me. So mine is an OKI. I hope this will work. It's an 80C88A-10, so 10 megahertz 8088, which is faster than the stock the stock clock speed on the original IBM XT would have been 4. It wasn't until the 286 that they got 8 and 12 and stuff. Oops, that might have had my name on it. RIP. Okay, so we'll go back here. Oops. So that is the main part, and I've got the PCB. Where is it? Here it is. So I've got a PCB that we can populate. Then the other part that goes with it, you'll notice that, this would be a pretty lame computer, right? First of all, it wouldn't power on. There's no power input into this thing. And yeah, so you might be asking, how does this CPU thing interact with another part of a computer? And that is the job of this little IBM or this ISA backplane. So it's basically an 8-bit bus backplane. You would stick the computer into one of these, so you'd slot the computer card, I guess you would say, the CPU card, into one of these ports. And then this backplane would be like your quote-unquote motherboard. So this gets screwed into your case, and it has, again, more modern features, right? So it has an ATX-style connector. It does have I think this might be for -5 volts. It has some voltage regulator on board. I'm not sure for what rail, but if I read, it probably would tell you. Okay, not used. Power good, not used. -5 volts not provided by most ATX. It is generated using an onboard voltage regulator. Okay, so it looks like they're generating the -5 volts on here, maybe this thing. So this is kind of a cool way to get all the other functions to interact with the PC. So you have a nice. This is kind of set up to use the Pico power supply, right? So like there's a version of the Pico power supply that just like sockets like right into this thing, and then you have just a button that kind of goes to the outside of the case, and you can just turn it on and off. So that's really kind of neat. And all your other functionality would just come from your add-on cards. So to kind of round this out. Like you saw, there was that floppy drive in the front of the case, but you definitely want you would need it like some kind of a hard drive controller. Well, so they're using the stack, I guess. Actually, they're telling you here the rest of the parts. So you get the micro 8088 processor board, this backplane, and then the whole rest of the project revolves around using this Super VGA, which is not a clone, but it's using old chips on a new board. Again, kind of like the CPU board. So there's a VGA graphics card, which is nice. There's a floppy disk controller, which is what connects to the floppy drive, right? So you've got your floppy connector here. And then for a hard drive, instead of having a MFM card or an IDE controller or something, you would just use this XT-CF Lite, I guess, board. So that gives you compact flash kind of in a small form factor. And then for a sound card, there's this ISA OPL2 project. So all these sub projects are all from Sergey on their GitHub. So we're going to start with these parts, and like we're definitely not going to get through the whole build. I mean, we're not even going to get through the CPU build probably, or the CPU board build, but we're going to start. I don't miss having to have 10 cards to do everything. Yeah, well, it's funny because my capture PC, it feels like that because I've got so many cards in this thing. It's like literally there's no slots left. But yeah, but I mean that's kind of part of the fun, of putting together an old computer, is like exploring what all the cards do. Like, yeah, I don't know. When I was younger, I was very excited about all different kinds of cards and things. Yeah, I definitely love the more modern setups that don't have much in them, like just from a less to break sort of thing. If I don't know who's walking around with their computers, but I don't mind it. The stuff is inside and not really visible that well. But yeah, working on them is not as fun for sure, just because there's not as many things. Okay, so I guess I didn't really have anything planned of what to say, but I just want to talk a little bit, I suppose, about PCBWay. So this is where I got the boards created, and just for your information, these are, well, we'll talk about it, I guess, when we start, but they are ENIG. So these are higher price PCBs. So this is not an inexpensive project if you do ENIG, but yeah, what you'd have to do is you'd come in here, and then you'd go to like quick order, and then you could just upload the Gerber files. So there's a bunch of Gerber files for each of these projects. So to follow along with what I'm doing, you would just need the Micro 8088 one and the Backplane one. I have a whole bunch of other things that I'm gonna like. I have a PC power supply, like just a ATX power supply that I'm gonna use to power it up. So I'm not gonna worry, like I'm not gonna get that far. I'm gonna do it in chunks, I guess. So like in the future, I'll do the video card and the sound card and the IBM or the XT IDE card and everything. So I'm gonna do everything from that list, but just kind of piecemeal and use test the computer with what I've got already. So I'm not sure how familiar, I guess for a long time I've been kind of trying to get people to be more interested in building projects, right? Like actually ordering the PCBs and stuff and soldering stuff, especially things that are hand solderable. Like I've done a bunch of projects that have been kind of a nightmare, but this is mostly through-hole solder, or actually it's all through-hole soldering. So this is a very, I wouldn't say brand new friendly, but it's pretty new friendly, right? I mean, especially if you get the ENIG boards. I mean, these PCBWay PCBs are pretty durable. So they'll take some heat abuse, I suppose. The parts themselves, like the old parts, might not. But the good part about this project is 98% of it is new components. So it's really not that bad. So yeah. I guess we'll talk about, before we move on, PCBWay does do other things besides just make PCBs, or they have a PCB assembling setup also, which I haven't really explored yet, but because I always like to do it myself. But I might have to try it with the I don't know, some project. I might have to see their PCB assembly stuff. But their other main stuff is they do 3D printing, and not just normal 3D printing, like PLA stuff. The kind of big ticket stuff, I guess. Let's see, where's our, I can't see underneath that. The things that I like that they could do are, they can do nylon, but they only have one type of nylon. But that would be like, if you ever saw my black Ashita case that I made once upon a time, or I had made for me once upon a time, that was nylon. So that's nylon. And the other one is, where is it? What is it called? Oh, I guess it wouldn't be CNC. What? I'm in the wrong thing. Oh, whoops. They do CNC work too. That's what I was on. The UTR, the translucent, where is it? The transparent one. That's what it is. This clear resin, which is what I use to have them make the Ashita shell. So this is kind of a cool way you can get like pretty see-through. Like if you're making something like a Game Boy or something and you want it to be completely transparent, like they do a nice job with this. So that's, so besides making PCBs, they can also do 3D printing and sort of like sophisticated 3D printing stuff and CNC machining. And they even do some injection molding stuff, but I don't really know much about that. But that's just the capabilities if you're a creator and you want to check them out. Okay, sorry. All right, so that's pretty much enough about PCBWay, but thank you again for them sponsoring this video and this project. So, yeah. Let's talk about our sponsor. Yeah, let them cook it. We will let you in on all our Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys should wait for my Raid Shadow Legends sponsorship. It's going to be great. No, just kidding. Hey, I don't mind the PCBWay sponsorship because I know, it is a pretty good sponsor to have if you enjoy building PCB projects. So, and they for, this is kind of like off the record, they do seem to sponsor a lot of independent people. So kind of, kudos to them because it's, at least my experience has been pretty much hands off, right? It's up to the creator to be creative as far as how they do sponsors and things. And yeah, they seem to like to support people, which is cool. All right, so let's just shut up and get started. Oh, I didn't even mention the giant. Oh, yes, okay. Before we actually start, I do want to mention this. In case somebody else is working on this project, I do want to talk about, not PCBWay again. I want to talk about the bill of materials because the bill of materials is a kind of a pain in the butt for this project and the backplane. And I'm imagining all the other ones too. So unfortunately, this project was created a while ago. The copyright date on my board here is from 2018. So while this is a brand new making of that board, the project is kind of old. So basically, along with having someone like PCBWay build or make the PCB for you, you also have to get the bill of materials stuff, which they kind of made it nice and easy. There is a link toward the middle of the page that says, Micro 8088. I'm never going to be able to say that right. Micro 8088 project on Mauser. So if we click that, it actually will try to pull up a cart. And the cart has, so this is like a saved cart that Sergey or somebody else had put together. But the problem is, some things on here might be back ordered, or these parts here are actually end of life or obsolete, at least from this manufacturer. I think this one is just pin headers, which is fine. You can just use any other pin headers as far as I know. It does say that you're hard gold, but I don't really think you need hard gold pin headers. But, and this trimmer pot or trimmer cap, which I just found it by Googling this or putting this into DigiKey. So essentially, if you're going to be building this project and you're building this and you're building the backplane, I do recommend opening these Mauser project lists, but then you're going to have to kind of search around. I was able to get everything from, I had to buy the Faraday chip on eBay, and then they gave me I didn't buy the FPU, so that's something that maybe I can do in the future. But I had to buy the Faraday chip on eBay, so here's the list for that. And I bought, they gave me an ADC88 CPU in that Faraday order. I don't think I ordered one. So that was eBay, and then everything else I was able to get from either Mauser or DigiKey. So it's possible to get everything new, but it's just a little bit of a manual labor, which kind of stinks because all the part numbers here are listed with Mauser's, whatever, their inventory tag thing. So yeah. So it's a little bit of a pain. I also when you open the Mauser thing, it doesn't load customer reference designators into this at all. So you'll have to add those also. So, you know, I sort of wish that it was a nicer, I don't know what the better way is. I know now you can do like Octopart, whatever, and that will like find different stores that has the thing that you want in stock, but it's kind of a, you know, then you have to maintain that too. So I'm glad that there is a list, and I'm glad that it's nicely listed here, but it's a little bit of manual labor to get all the parts and stuff together. But in the end of that, we ended up getting a giant sack. This is absolutely the biggest batch of stuff I've ever gotten. It's kind of like too big to see. It's falling apart. And I have another little thing from DigiKey. So all my parts for both this for the Micro 8088 main board and the backplane are all in this bag. So let's get started. And one of the cool things about this whole project is most of these chips, most of the big chips, I suppose, and even the memory ones here, they all use, I think they all have sockets, which are included in the BOM. So that the sockets do make the project pricey. You can kind of not really tell in this picture. Oh, I'm not showing the picture. You can kind of not really tell in the picture, but I think they're all in sockets. Well, at least this chip here is obviously in a socket, but like the memory is in a socket. These chips down here are in sockets. The CPU and this is in a socket. So it's kind of a cool, if you ever need to replace anything, it's kind of all ready to go for you. Back in college, I had to build an 8088 and a breadboard. Huh. Well, I know, like, Ben Eater, isn't Ben Eater doing that? Making a breadboard? Is it an 8088? I don't remember if that's what he was doing. But that's a fascinating series by Ben Eater. Also, another thing I guess I should mention is I forgot to have them bevel, PCBWay bevel the edge at this cart edge. There's an option in the settings where you can say like the cart edge 45-degree bevel, which is what an ISA, the ISA standard needs. But I followed, I think it was CO's advice, and I bought a big metal. It was probably way too big for what I needed it, but I ended up buying this metal file. Right, so I had this metal file. It's huge. It's like at least a foot, which is way overkill, I think, for this. And actually, it kind of hurt, I think, a little bit because I kind of filed down the edges on the edge. I think it'll be fine. I'm just gonna send it, and if it doesn't work, I'm gonna have to transfer everything to a new PCB. But you know, it's fine. Oh, it's a 6502. Got it. That's what the Ben Eater one. But I mean, either way, that's fascinating. He's going through all the steps of making it all work. So I did use a metal file, but I also used high grit sandpaper because it's even with the metal file, which made a nice, well, debatably straight edge, it's going to leave burrs on the metal. So like if you're, you know, I'm using Enig here, so this is kind of like slightly harder gold than the Hassel or whatever the normal finish is. It will leave berms here on the edge, or burrs. So you'll have to take some fine sandpaper, like 1,000 grit or whatever I did. I think it was like 1,200 grit or something. So like hit it with some high grit afterward to get the burrs down. Otherwise, I don't know what it's going to do when you get in the socket. So I think these are pretty clean. But because everything is in a socket, I kind of have to be strategic in how to assemble the whole thing. Normally, what I like to do is go from the flattest component and go higher. So like resistors and capacitors and things like through-hole ones are pretty small, so that's probably what I'll start with. Probably not a fun stream, but yeah, you know, then you work your way up to the taller things, and you know, we get pretty quickly to the sockets. So there's a guy that's making an entire PC and VGA and audio and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I think that's Ben Eater. Yep. He's following a book, to be fair. It's not him, you know, he's not, you know, he is making the kits that people can buy, but he's following and he's writing all the programming, so he's doing all that stuff, but he's, all right, let's shut up and talk, or shut up and work. I don't know, where do we start? You kind of ignore the bevel unless you're going to be, yeah, that's true. I just, you know, I just wanted to test it, really. Even, you know, even the flat bottom probably would have been fine, but you know, if I'm going to build this, I might as well take the 30 seconds it took to bevel that. But or now I have all the tools and stuff for the future. So. All right, I don't know. Where do I start? I guess we'll try to pull out the capacitors. I know this isn't a fun capacitor installing stream, but we got to start somewhere. RR2. Oh, resistor arrays. Okay. Now this is the worst part, is when you're just starting, because all of the parts are like all mixed up and you haven't organized anything yet. So I made sure to put, because all the parts for both the Micro 8088, I just keep adding, I keep adding 8088s to the end of it, so it just keeps getting longer and longer. I made sure not just to put the reference designator of the project, but also what project it was in. So this is switch 2 for the Micro 8088 build versus the, oh, this might be resistors. Okay, so this is R2. Well, we got a bag out, so let's see. This is what R2 and R3, which is, I see R4 and R5. I'm not going to bust out the microscope, but yeah. Well, I see the resistor arrays, R1. This is always like the, oh, what did I say this was? R2 and R3? Okay, so R2 and R3. Okay, 47 ohm jobbies. Got it. I do kind of think that it's wasteful, to to buy I don't love buying components like this. I would rather have a giant stockpile. But the problem is, for these, basically what I'm trying to say is I don't love having all this trash left over. I mean, I try to reuse it as much as possible. If you've ever gotten something from me in the mail, you know that I try to reuse stuff. Resistors don't really matter which way you go, but I wish I had a fancy resistor bender thing. I just try to bend them, whatever, close enough. And then send them on home. Oh boy, they're like tiny. They like really want you to jam these resistors in there. Oh boy, who's doing this? And it's super tight. Let me see. What does the picture look like? Well, wow. Okay, they're like really slapping it in there. I don't know, man. That seems kind of sus. Don't really want to bend it. I can 3D print a bender. I should do that, but I don't know what you do in this circumstance. Like, you really can't bend these any smaller than they are. Ugh. Well, you know what I should do? Maybe I'll wait, because I know you can do this. This is probably what I'll end up doing. I know you can do like that. And that looks pretty clean. So I'll probably end up doing that, but I'm not going to do it yet, because obviously that breaks our rule. Okay. All right, well, that was... I have a feeling that all of these resistors and capacitors are going to be the same issue. Is there something that I'm missing? I've never encountered that, or it's super... Maybe I bought the wrong type of... that's the only other thing I can think of, is maybe I bought the wrong... I know you could probably get smaller ones than that. Okay, so this is a... Nope, not the right thing. Just reaching in the bag for some more stuff. What is this? Diodes. Okay, these diodes are probably pretty small. Okay, so this is D1. Oh, so yeah, to differentiate between the micro project and the backplane, I put BP for backplane. So I gotta get one D1 diode, and we gotta find it. Where's D1? These ones. There it is. Found it. Yeah. Sweet. And diodes are directional. So when I get one out. Oh, yeah, I was kind of ranting about the bags, the amount of bags. Yeah, I don't like the fact that I have to buy so many, that it comes in so many packages when you buy a project, but I don't really see, you know, unless somebody made like sold kits, I guess that's a good way to do it, but somebody's got to do that, take the time to do that. Okay, so diodes, on one end, they have a little black line. So in this case, it's on the left. And on the board, there should be board markings. So in this case, there's a line on the left side there. So you just put the black line to the white on the diagram. Wow, it's only been an hour, and I'm just getting the first component soldered. That's right. See, this makes sense for it to be really flat, really narrow like that, right? The resistor thing is kind of, I don't know how to feel about that. All right, first component going in. Where's my solder? There it is. Oh, let me turn down my temperature. Don't need 380 for this. Now, I guess it is kind of interesting to know that ENIG has this type of coating, this like brass coating, is a little bit more heat, like it needs more heat, I guess, to make a good joint. Like you need to hold the part, you need to hold the weld. I find that you need to hold it longer than with Hassel. So that's just a kind of a side note, but you know, just a tip that I've learned. And I always keep my little parts. Where the heck? Except for that one. That one's gone on the floor. Rip. I try to keep my component clippings because those are, you know, not a million of them, but, you know, you have a little stockpile of them because those are good for repairing. If you have, I don't know, you need to repair a wire or something that needs really stiff wire or something, then these are good for that. Seems like the bomb has larger resistors than it's supposed to. Ah, interesting. Well, that's okay. I'll do the bendy thing. I think that'll be fine. I hope that'll be fine. They're kind of tucked away in those. Dang, then what resistors and capacitors is it supposed to have? That's interesting. They don't look different. They look the same size as the ones that I have. I guess they just jammed them in there somehow. All right, that's the first component. Hooray! Let's dig through and find some more. Okay, that one's just kind of out. R1? Where be R1? Oh, we saw that already, didn't we? You know what I've got, too, that would make this kind of a little bit easier? I don't always use this, but I have this PCB clamp thingy here. Just, you know, you kind of like put a board in it, and it has a little spring thingy so that you can just kind of like put it in there, and now you can flip it over pretty easy. So I don't know, we'll check that out, right? See how it works. I don't think I've used it that much, but you know, it does kind of get in the way of the components on the side, but at least we can, I don't know, we'll figure it out. Ooh, my T out of the way. Get out of here. Okay. Now we can go back in. All right, what are we looking for? R1. R3. Oh, that was this one. R7, R6. See, those capacitors are at the edge. Switch. R4, R5. Resistor array 1. F1. Come on. I'm gonna need to bring my my air conditioners up in my room soon because it's getting hot and I can't handle it. Oh, this is annoying. Where the heck is R1? Oh, R1. Okay, it's up here. Well, it looks kind of not hard to get to, but like, see, this is what I'm talking about. This entire bag is for one resistor. I know it's kind of my bad for ordering it that way, but it is very wasteful. It'd be, yeah, maybe I should think about making kits for these kind of open source projects. That'd be kind of cool. All right, let's see. Is this one going to give us a hard time too? Probably. It's like barely the right size. I mean, either that or they really just jammed these in there. That's a possibility. All right, I'm going to hold off on that one too. Because, yeah, they're just kind of big. Getting rid of some bags, though. That's good. All right, next, grabbing from the pile. X1, that is the clock. Or the crystal, I mean. Let's see, that should be super duper high, right? Well, I don't know. It's not super high. And clocks are also not, or clock crystals are also not directional. I don't know, is that low enough? Probably. I mean, the next step up is what? And I'm not super concerned. I'm more concerned about making sure that everything is as flat on the board as possible. So let's just do this while we have it. I don't think the clock goes in any specific way. There's no markings or anything for direction on the board, so I think it just goes in. So then I'm going to like spread the legs a little bit like that. Just to kind of, and then, you know, I'm not really super sure that that's like flat. I know it's not flat. So I'm going to just tack one side, wait for it to cool a tiny bit, and then using my hand, just kind of push down against the piece. Okay. And then when it's cooled down again, you can let go. Okay, cool. That's the clock. Let's see, what does it set? What is it? 28. Oh, this is not the clock crystal for the computer, I don't think. This is the, well, maybe it is. I don't know. It could be. Because I know there's a potentiometer here, or is it a capacitor potentiometer, something like a variable capacitor or something that you can adjust for the NTSC frequency or something like that. So I think it has to do with, it's either NTSC clock or the CPU clock, but I'm not sure about that. Okay. Clock should matter. Okay. You always order a bunch at a time, so I'll have leftovers for other projects. Yeah, see, I do that, and then I leave them in the bags, and then I never do anything with them again. So, I don't know. Yeah, you're right. In theory, that's a good way to do it. Okay, so we finished a single bag. Ah! Okay, I have to make sure not to lose any of these parts that I have open. Okay. All right, next, let's see. This is F1, which is a resettable fuse, apparently. Oh, and it goes down here in the corner. All right, let's see what this looks like. Is this tall boy? Oh my God. Yo, dog. Look how huge this is. Well, I guess that's not going on yet. That is very tall. But that's fine. It'll join our sky-high resistors later. Oh, this was... Oh, C23. Okay, we're kind of getting into capacitor land. I'm making a pile of the discrete components over there, like the capacitors and resistors and stuff, because that's probably going to be next after the well, maybe some of the dip switches probably, and the sockets for all the chips. Okay, so these are a bunch of more capacitors. I mean, they're kind of tall, so I'm not gonna start there. But I'm putting them in a specific pile. All the other big parts and stuff, I'm putting them in a different pile. Okay, U10 and U11. Okay, those are chips. So I'm gonna make I guess I'll have to make a different pile. My gosh, my desk is ripped my desk for like the next week. It's gonna be a mess. Okay, now we have U16. Okay, so this is a chip. So, okay, we'll have to read. There's a footnote here. See how I wrote not with U14? I guess I put U exclamation mark 4. There's an alternative path you can do depending on what you want to do, and but we have to read that there's a note in the repository that we need to come back to. All right, so I got more resistor arrays. I've got an LED. That might be kind of short. I'll wait and do that with the resistors. More capacitors. More capacitors. We might be getting there sooner than I thought. Okay, P3. What is P3? Oh, okay. So these are little pin headers. So that's fine. They're kind of tall, so we'll wait. R6. I feel like this is gonna be another R situation. Yeah, it's up here, but I believe it's probably gonna be the same kind of deal where it's too big for its hole. So we'll wait on that. I guess, I don't know, what's next? What's the next level of things? I guess we can look at the switches. Maybe the resistor arrays might be low. This is all the ISA cart edge connectors are in this big long box. So I don't even need that yet. Won't need that until, well, actually, you know what? I have another bag. Let me check the Mauser bag. What's in my Mauser bag? Or my DigiKey bag, I mean. Just more caps. More caps. Oh, this is that trimmer pot, the trimmer cap. Is a potentiometer a capacitor, or is a resistor? I thought it was always a resistor. More resistor arrays, so that's we're getting there. All right. I really want to get to not the chips. I want to get the chip holders. Oh, here they are. All right, let's see how tall these are, because this might be our next step. So this is what? This is U7 to U13 and U16. And these are nice sockets. They're double wipe ones, which means that there's metal on both sides. There's metal on the inside and the outside, so that's kind of cool. So let's start with these, because I don't think we're going to get any other discrete components lower than that, unfortunately. Yeah. These capacitors are all kind of high, and the resistors, we have to do that weird thing with it. So we'll just come back. Maybe it doesn't really matter, because the reason why you do the low to high is so that you can flip the board over. But I'm using this weird thing anyways. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so these sockets go on U7 to U3. Okay, so we got some kind of a weird layout here. So U7, U8, U9, U10, U11, U13, and U12. So the names of the parts are kind of out of order, but it seems like it goes U7 through U13, so that's U7, U8, U9, U10, 11, 12, and 13, and U16 up here. So you want to make sure there's these, I think this must be the RAM, but like all these larger sort of dip package chips, they are directional. So there is a little moon, or half moon, I guess, or moon. There is an eclipse on our PCB. That is kind of like that is also going to be on the chip that goes in there, and it's also on the socket. So there's a little thing, a little half moon on one side, but it's not on the other side. You can see that. So that goes in like that. Now with these, it's going to be kind of hard. Let me see. I guess I can do this. Having this thing, holder thing kind of makes it a little easier. Okay. So get one on one side, and then one on the other side, and then push up and heat it up again. Okay. All right, so once you have one on either side, then you can just do all of them. I guess I should do some drag soldering, but okay, this is kind of getting wobbly. Making a computer. Do. So anybody playing anything fun? Playing any fun games? Or watching any good TV? All right, one down, 1,000 more to go. Not like literally 1,000, but there are many on this project. All right, let's keep on trucking. Yeah. I don't think we're going to be in trouble when we go back to solder the capacitors, which are kind of like in here. Because, I don't know, you're going to be doing your soldering on the bottom anyways, so I don't really think that things are going to get in the way, but I don't know. We're going to find out. We watched all 3 Crocodile Dundee movies, my girlfriend and I. It has been a long time since I watched them. My dad really likes those kind of movies, and I remember watching with him when I was younger. But like, I hope this is not like child abuse or anything. But I remember there's the part where in the first one where like there's this guy doing cocaine or something. He's got a bag of cocaine, and Dundee thinks it's some kind of like sick remedy or something that he wants to do. So he like dumps it all into he like dumps boiling water into a bowl and like dumps all the cocaine into the bowl. He like wastes this guy like hundreds of dollars of cocaine on this guy. So I remember that, distinctly remember that one random scene, and that's in the first movie. So pretty funny. And, you know, I think the first one is better than the other ones. Started playing Phantasy Star for the Master System. I think I tried playing the one on the Genesis. Is that one of the earlier ones, or is that like 3 or 4 or something? Because those games are kind of like I wanted to get into them, but like I don't know, something about those kind of games. I couldn't really get into it for some reason. Not in a bad way. It's just, I don't know. That's like one of those series that is going on forever, and so I figured I would try it, but it's crazy how less people watch this, or how many fewer people watch this over the Morph streams. This is what I actually do. No, I don't know. It's fine. I think, you know, I don't like, you know, I do everything. You know, I try to be interested in everything. So yeah, Zombie Geek, I've got the stream going while packing PicoGust boards up to Ian, I need to just buy one of the PicoGust 2.0s. I think if I have, well, I say this out loud, but if I have one of the boards, it might make it easier for me to diagnose the one I built. But I just haven't had time. Like, you know, I bought a whole hot plate so that I could try to redo the parts, but it's just a lot to manage. And I'm really jealous of people who have the technical know-how to like look at a schematic and be able to figure out problems and stuff. But which is weird because you would think that I would be good at that, but I just like building them. I like, you know, taking a person's project, their open source project, and making it real instead of it just kind of living on GitHub. And not in a bad way. I just mean like I find it fascinating that somebody, you know, put all this effort into building or designing a product, and all they had to do was put it on GitHub, and then I can make it myself. That to me still, every time I build a project, that blows my mind. That it's how as easy as it is to build new stuff without having to have that much technical knowledge. So that is why I want people to be interested about. I would love to see this kind of a project for the newer CPUs, like a 286 version and a 386, like with 16-bit, or even like PCI, like you can get 32-bit. You know, like I know that gets increasingly more complicated and stuff, and board speeds and bus speeds and stuff have to matter. You know, so you have to have a well-designed layout and stuff, but still, I mean, it's taking something that is largely inaccessible and expensive, which is, you know, big old computers that are in various states of repair, to, you know, a unified project that kind of many people can use and have like a baseline configuration that they can just assemble. So that's kind of what I'm hoping that this project will be, like a cool IBM-PC class computer. It's a super tough thing to troubleshoot, especially with those QFN parts. I mean, on paper they don't seem hard to solder, which is why I was so gung-ho about it. But it's hard. It's not simple. Or, you know, there might be some amount of luck. Because I've seen a whole bunch of videos where people solder them on and then they don't like test them in the video. Like, so I'm not sure if people actually, you know, I'm sure somebody out there is soldering them well, but it's not as straightforward as it seems. But now I've got a hot plate, so that probably would have helped me before. I did watch the Adrian's mail call today too about the PicoGust 2. It got me excited. I didn't realize that the Sound Blaster functionality was out now. I knew that it was coming in a beta, or it was in beta. So that'll be very exciting. I don't know if an IBM AT or XT, I mean, can really take advantage of any of the Sound Blaster functionality, but I think it's cool because doesn't Sound Blaster also have AdLib kind of as a backup? So that'd be a cool double. It did have AdLib emulation before, but I mean, it's nice to be able to have it set in Sound Blaster mode, and then you kind of get AdLib without having to change the config, which is kind of cool. So that is like now it's like a must-have card, assuming it works well. You know, I saw Adrian's works, you know, seemed to work well. He had it running with some sound, not MIDI, but some kind of thing, and it sounded pretty good. So now it's like that's like a must-have if you're getting into I mean, even if you've got one already, like I still personally like the sound of, what is it called, like wavetable kind of sounds, because that was my first computer had a my first computer, that Gateway machine, had a Soundscape card, which is kind of like a Sound Blaster clone, but it had the wavetable support. So it had some built-in wave sounds. And that's how I remember Doom sounding, not like a Sound Blaster. So I imagine a lot of people probably, when you first played Doom, you might have played it on a Sound Blaster, but I played it when I first played it, it was with a wavetable setup. So it sounds a lot better in my opinion. But it's probably more authentic for it to be a Sound Blaster. For that good old Doom music. Sound Blaster includes AdLib. And Sonic Soundscape, those sounded really good. Yeah, I don't know why. Like, they were like an OEM brand, but I guess Gateway really knew what the hell they were doing back then, because those machines, you know, they sold them for a pretty long, like there's a lot of different Pentium, you know, those Pentium towers. My dad's even had a Pentium Pro, which was basically the beginnings of Pentium 2. Pentium Pro and Pentium 2 kind of share some architecture, which differs from the Pentium 1. But yeah, so it was a 200 megahertz machine at the time, where, you know, Pentiums could be 100, 133, 166. So 200 is kind of on the high side of Pentiums. So things like playing Doom was a breeze. I mean, I had never really played Quake at the time, but it would probably be limited by the. It had a what? Actually, I'm not sure what the specific one that my dad had, but I had the. What is it called? Shoot, I can't remember the graphics card that I had. It was that name brand that I never really had heard of before. It started with an M, I think. Matrox Millennium. That's what I'm trying to think of. Well, this is pretty much what it's going to be for the rest of the stream. But I think I will populate everything between now and probably Sunday if I have time. Maybe we'll do like the tail end of it, because I think people are probably more interested in the scalar stuff. But I got to get this project done. And like I said, I really hope that this project would be a cool way for people to be, you know, learn more about how to solder, and then have a super cool working IBM PC it doesn't take up a lot of space. So that's kind of a cool double whammy in my opinion. So I'll be setting it all up, and then the following stream, or I'll be populating the boards probably before the next stream. Then the next stream will be trying to turn it on for the first time. So I have a ATX power supply. I guess we could just use floppy for the boot. We don't need a hard drive in the beginning, just to test that it works. And a VGA graphics card. Eventually we will be building the graphics card for this build, for this project, but I have extra VGA ISA cards that we can use just to test it. And we can even throw in Ian's PicoGus, so we can have some audio. All right, 2 more of these bad boys. Making sure that the notch is notchy. Ah. I want to solder the big, what are these sockets called? These big square ones? I want to solder that one. I'm just looking forward to that one. It has a lot of pins, but this seems really cool. I miss back in the day going to Best Buy and CompUSA and looking at all the GPUs and this. Oh man, I miss CompUSA. Just being able to walk into a store. I mean, there is a Micro Center. It's about 2.5 hours away from where I live. That's the closest Micro Center to me in up in Boston. And it just sucks not being able to go into a store. I mean, you guess Best Buy, but it's not the same. You walk into Best Buy and get overpriced PC components. Like, nah. Micro Center is where it's at. If you've never been to a Micro Center, that's like a bucket list thing. I mean, it's not that fascinating, but you know, it's definitely a throwback to how things were. What type of MB motherboard do we put in this? PLCC. Oh, that's what this is called, PLCC. This basically is the motherboard. It doesn't really go. So the cool thing about this is this is kind of a custom project, I suppose. So the BIOS that it runs, I believe, is kind of, it like matches these two parts. So this is the CPU board that we're building now, but it comes with this backplane board that will eventually have a bunch of ISA slots, and that is where all the CPU one, the sound card one, the XTIE one will go on one, different slots, and then so the CPU one is kind of on a daughter board, whereas the backplane is really just nothing, just the sockets and the voltage regulator and the power. So, and didn't I say a P? Oh, it's on the keyboard. The PS2 keyboard is on this thing. So it's kind of like you're stuck. You're not stuck. I mean, it's a fascinating project. So it's not like you're stuck. It's just it's like a very specialized kind of form factor that is made for this matching case that the designer made, 3D printed, I mean. All right, last one of these things, then we can get this out of here. Oh, this is a nice bag though. Okay, so this one goes on U16. Okay. They have some good deals at Micro Center. They sure do. If you there is a website I want everyone to know about. Even if you, I'm sure a lot of you have known, but is it .net? Slickdeals.net. Probably where the majority of my my discretional spending goes, just finding cool stuff on Slick Deals. So it's kind of like it's a forum, I believe, but the homepage of the site just like aggregates and shows you really good deals. Some of it's tech, but some of it is like, hey, you can get granola bars on sale right now. So it's just like crazy stuff. And I see a lot of times people list Micro Center in-person deals on Slick Deals so that people know they can go to the store and get a deal. And that makes me jealous every single time I see like a really good combo, because usually they'll do like CPU, motherboard, and then something else, RAM or something, like bundle deals, and they're less expensive to buy all three of the parts than to buy them all individually. So like, it's just a cool thing, but you got to go to the store to do it. So yeah, they don't ship it out online, the deals, unfortunately. But with the same, I make heavy use of Amazon refunds, so a lot of my stuff tends to be Amazon anyways, just so that I have that safety net of like, if I don't like something or I end up not using it, I don't feel bad about returning it, because not like F Amazon, because I really like Amazon, I use Amazon a lot in my day-to-day, but they can handle, the big companies can handle that sort of thing. $100 Ender 3s. It's slickdeals.net. You have a love-hate with Slick Deals? Tell me about your love-hate. Oh, maybe I should have put the actual URL or actual link. There we go. I gotta get the HTTP. It's coming. It's coming. There we go. There we go. Yeah. You can log in and stuff, but you can use it. You can use it without even having to log in, which is cool. It just kind of like gives you certain deals on your like homepage if you sign in and configure it and whatever. But anyways, check it out. I mean, that's where I get like that'll tell you when there's good like hard drive deals if you want big bulk hard drives and things, or just random stuff. Like you'll just be browsing it, and like I said, just big box of granola bars that you want or something, and if it's a good enough price, then yeah. But at least it's worth knowing about. If you're bored, you can just browse it. You buy too much from Slick Deals? Yeah, seriously. All right. I kind of want to look. I mean, we can dive into some more of these chip things, but I kind of want to do something fun, like maybe. Well, I want to see if we can find either this socket or one of the dip sockets. I think that would be fun to look at. So I'm gonna try to find one of those. You have alerts for things? Yeah, I do too. Yep. Same with eBay. I have eBay alerts for like retro computer parts. Like that's kind of the way to go. If you have an idea of a thing that you want to have eventually, just put it in now. I know it's dangerous, but you'll get alerts for it if it's kind of something that you can't easily find on eBay. Yeah. All right. I hear something rattling. Those are screws. That's not rattling. Okay, I found a little... Oh, never mind. That's a little tiny socket. That's not fun. Where's the big PLCC? Oh, I found the DIN. I found the mouse connector. That's not really... We're not there yet. I'm not affiliated, by the way, with Slick Deals at all. Just FYI, I just like to use them for computer stuff. Usually it's computer parts. You get a good deal from. You can, it depends. Oh, here it is. Found the PLCC socket. Whoa, it comes in a slidey thing. Well, this is what if you had a pick and place machine for a big part like this is like, a pick and place machine can place these onto PCBs when they are soldering them, but they come in these long tubes. They look like this, but a lot, obviously this is just a part of it. Someone cut it, but they look like this, just a lot longer, and they like load them up like it's like not bullets, but like they're cartridges that kind of go in there, and the stuff slides down them, so it's just kind of neat. Oh, this might be bigger than I thought. Oh, maybe not. Okay, so this also is directional, I think. I dislike your mileage may vary deals. Yes, that's I kind of ignore those because I kind of figure I don't know. If it wasn't meant to be bought online, then not in a bad way. It's just I just need to limit my spending, period, not just sometimes I don't know. I'm just kind of lazy. Plus, I work from home, so it's like, I don't know. It's complicated. Okay, well, I said this was directional, but I'm not sure what the direction is. This is the socket for the Faraday chip. I got to figure out which direction it is. All right, let's look at the picture. Does the picture give us any guidance? Kind of does. So there is a cutout here. Well, let me show you the picture. There's a notch in this bottom right corner here, whereas the other sides are kind of rounded. Excuse me, oh, man, I got hiccups or something. So that is the orientation that we're going to do. So the notch at the bottom here, is going to match the notch at the bottom of this. Now so that was the first hot tip. Now the second hot tip is we need to make sure that none of these pins are bent. Ooh, this might be a good job for, I got some new tweezers from Northridge Fix. I think I overspent on them, but that's fine. I like supporting them. They have this cool, this is the first time I've ever supported them. It has this cool like titanium, like burnt kind of titanium look. And these tweezers are probably the pointiest, tiniest little tweezers I've ever seen in my life. So they're probably better for SMD stuff. But my previous smaller tweezers are just getting beat to heck. As you can see, the tip is broken off of one of them. So not ideal anymore. But still good for this, which is trying to straighten out pins. So before you even put this thing in there, you just gotta straighten them all out. Make sure they're all lined up. You just got a little how you doing on the flight over here, or the drive. I don't really know how they came. Okay. All right, let's try that. Oh yeah, like a glove. All right, so make sure our notch is in the corner here, in the notched spot. And now we just gotta start it. Which can be a pain in the butt, but maybe not. Okay, so for this one, I'm definitely going to do this and then push down on that first pin to make sure it's absolutely flat. Okay. Now on the opposite side, kind of do the same thing. So like that, and then I gotta make sure to push down. Okay, cool. So now we can just start blasting. Actually, I've got this now. Since I have my quick change tips for my soldering iron, I might as well. So let's do maybe like a, I don't know, knife edge tip thing. How does that sound? I did end up super gluing my, this Aijin handpiece that kept falling apart. I don't know if you heard me complaining about it before, but this, oh, why is that so hot? Oh God, I touched something in it. Maybe it wasn't hot, maybe it was just sharp. I thought it was hot, so I made me yeet my, anyways. I super glued these pieces together so that they wouldn't back out anymore. So, it hasn't come apart. Soldering on a CPU, not yet. This is just the PLL, or the PLCC holder for the, this is, this entire thing is like the CPU, and it's only this, well, and a lot of the additional functionality, because the backplane really doesn't have that much functionality either. It has the ISA slots and the power stuff, but a lot of the features of this CPU are on this. They're on a chipset, specific chipset chip called the Faraday, which is in my box of parts. So when this is all said and done, this chip, this has got kind of cool spring fit kind of, oops, see, I got to make sure that these are all, you can kind of see that these are all kind of bent out of shape. So before I actually plug this in, I got to make sure that everything is in the right order. Anyway, so this is that chipset chip, and this provides a lot of the functionality. There's a list of the features on the thing, but it, like, I don't know, provides some stuff. Probably the floppy controller. So not yet, just the socket. And we're not gonna, actually we're not soldering anything in. This is all stuff with sockets, which is really cool. All right, let's do a little bit of drag soldering. I haven't done drag soldering in a long time, but it's like riding a bike, maybe? I'm only not adding extra liquid flux because there's already flux in the new solder. If I was doing, if I was desoldering something or doing like an NES RGB, I would add flux. Okay, cool. I'll probably also get more, I'll look at each of these pins when I'm done to make sure I haven't forgotten, haven't made a bad connection or anything. But this beats having to solder 8,000 pins one at a time. It sounds cool. It's like springy on the back when I'm rubbing the pins. That sounds stupid, but it kind of makes a cool, fun sound. Woo! Fun. Oh, but now what do I do here? I gotta have to like go sideways on this, I think. See, this is one of the main reasons I bought this soldering iron, was because it has the removable tips that you can kind of remove stuff without having to use a wrench or something, or wait for it to cool down. So that was kind of a priority when I bought this iron. It's like I had to do that because I couldn't, when I had my Hakko FX888D, I couldn't switch very quickly. So it was just kind of annoying. All right, last part. Do 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 do. Cool. All right, I'm just doing a quick little visual inspection. I know I can't get super zoomed in right now, but that's right. It looks fine. I mean, not amazing, but everything looks connected. Cool. All right. Cool. And then this is where we would stick that big Faraday chip eventually. Need to get a knife tip. Yeah, I mean, I would say the three must-have tips. The three horsemen of the soldering apocalypse is the conical, not conical. What do they call this? I guess it's not circular, but it's like a blunt edge. I guess it's not. It doesn't come to a fine point. This is the normal. I don't remember what they call these, but this is like your standard tip, whatever. I actually have that in both that size, so that's like what, a millimeter, 1.2 millimeters or something, and I have like a 0.6 millimeter one. I have a tiny one for more just micro soldering stuff. So that's the first one. That's just the normal. I guess it's called conical. No, maybe not. I don't know. There's a name for it. Then there's the J tip, which is also kind of nice for drag soldering. I mean, some people prefer this over the knife edge tip, but this is called the J tip. And then the knife edge tip, I actually have a tiny one too. But yeah. And then the cool part about these is you can just, I know you guys can't see, but I guess I could bring this over. It comes with this little stand, this soldering iron, and then you can just pop it out and then pop the other one back in. And that's it. It heats up right away automatically. You don't need to turn it off or anything, so it's really handy for that. All right, what's next? You like the J over the knife. Yeah, some people like one or the other. But then some people will like only solder, they like solder everything with certain tips like that. Like, I don't understand that. Like that, every soldering they do is with a K tip or a knife edge tip. Like, crazy, in my opinion. All right, well, let's see if we can find a dip. Oh, I did have switch 2. Wasn't switch 2 in this pile of stuff? I want to do something fun, and then we can end the stream. U3. No, U16. I should put all the chips aside. P1. What was P1? I don't know. Oh, it looks like a... Oh, that's the port. That's the keyboard port. Shoot, I thought I had the switch, the little dip switches. I gotta find them quickly. Looking for micro switches. Q1. I don't think it's called Q. I think it's S. S2. SW2. Wait, didn't I see that in the beginning? Shoot. Maybe I put it back. Watch, I'm going to dig through this whole pile and it's not going to be in here. U14 socket. Buttons. U15. What's this? Oh, here's the socket for the CPU. Oh, here's a face-mounted button. How did I not know there was a face-mounted button? So here's switch 1. Switch 3. Oh, here's one. It's not the one I was looking for, but it'll be... Oh, it's the bigger one. It's the one up here. All right, so let's do that. That'll be fun. Fun. That's funny. Okay. We got this nice... We kind of threw out the thick to thin, or the tall to thin thing, like, right away. Okay, so this is switch 3, which is the ones up here. And I don't, switches are not necessarily, or I guess they could be directional, but it has more to do with how you read it. I'm just going to place that there for a second. And then we're going to look on the website. We're going to look on the picture. Okay. So it looks like everything, if we take a look at the original or the photo on the GitHub, everything is meant to be so that the labels are readable. Well, except for the Faraday chip is upside down, but the details on the switch, the little thing. I don't know what that is. The text is what I'm thinking of. The text on the switches is readable like this. I know you guys probably can't read it, but it's not focusing on this part. It's focusing on this. With like on is up. So like that's the orientation, I suppose. So let's get this started, and then we can play around with it. Maybe not. Can't really do anything with it yet. Oops, you guys can't see that at all. My bad. It's hard when I tilt this thing down. I can't really tell what is in focus or not. Mostly because I should put this up here. Yeah, there we go. Mostly because this thing raises the part up and it messes with the minimum focus distance on my camera. Cool. Alrighty. So this is a dip switch thing, and it is going to be super satisfying to do this. Maybe? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, just barely doesn't like the focus. So anyways, there's this one here, and I don't know what they do yet. We'll have to look at the manual. Okay, so, oh, this might be a little bit annoying to solder. Just the spacing between these things. I might have to be. I'll have to like choose how I install some of these parts when I continue, so that I'm not like stuck trying to like jam a small part when there's already other stuff all around it. All right, well, I think that's where I'm going to end soldering for tonight. I'm going to finish the whole soldering. I hope people don't mind that. I think, you know, if you want more tips, I do have other videos like OpenTendo builds. I have a bunch of videos with that. A bunch of, yeah, I did the whole step-by-step thing for that entire project. So if you're looking for like soldering tips, go watch the OpenTendo to get some more surface through-hole soldering tips and stuff. But next time, I will have soldered everything. Hopefully, I have everything. I hope I have all the bill of material stuff. I'll have everything soldered, and then we can test it up, or test it. We can try to boot it up and get it to work. So that'll be, and then after that, that'll be like the end of phase 1 for the micro build this year. Like I said, my long-term goal for this entire year is to build that full computer. So every project that Sergey has that is related to it, I want to build the whole thing. So phase 1 is the CPU and the backplane and the case, which I already had. Step 2 is probably going to be, I don't know. I don't have to build the Pico PSU, but I can't show you my face because if you weren't here in the beginning, that my iPhone isn't working, unfortunately. What was I going to say? Step 2, I don't know. Maybe it might be the Pico power supply, but I also want to do like the sound card. I guess we could use a Gus, but I kind of want to build Sergey's version. So the sound card and maybe the video card will be like step 2. And then I think there's a floppy controller and the XT IDE. Maybe that'll be like the third and final phase. So we'll kind of break it up like that so that I can kind of, have the whole build eventually. I hope you guys found this project interesting. Let me know. Oh, don't let me know if you found it was terrible, but let me know if it was interesting, because I look out for this stuff all the time, kind of on Twitter and stuff. And just in my searchings for computer stuff or retro stuff, I want to look for projects like this. And in my opinion, this is kind of like not this exact project, but projects like this, I think are going to be, I hope they'll be like the future of retro computing for new people. I hope that we can get like, I think they still make the CPUs and stuff nowadays, but I hope we can get probably like FPGA chipset replacements would probably be the easiest way. And then that way people can have nearly brand new. I know they make the CPUs brand new still, but they might be pricey. But you're still relying on getting this specific Faraday chipset chip, which they're probably not going to be available forever. I don't know how many they made, but yeah. So if we had FPGA replacement for this chip or something, then I would feel a lot better about this project just existing into the next 10, 20, 30 years. So stuff like that will be cool. So like people could collect these kind of small form factor, but trying to be authentic in the same way where you're not like really emulating it. I mean, I'm not talking about like hardware emulation. I'm talking about like software emulation, like DOSBox, I guess. But having the hardware to tinker with, and it's not really too much. It's not too far off from the original experience, right? If you use something like DOSBox to try to launch a game or something, you don't get any of the the pain and or pleasure of loading it from DOS and configuring your sound card and then all that stuff which is part of the original experience. So all right, well, that's pretty much it. I don't know if anybody here probably cares. I'll probably wait to hold my comments about the this is better than, oh, hey Mike, this is better than Kasumi in the best swimsuit. Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited to finish this. So anyways, next project or next stream will be probably the follow-up slash trying to get it to boot slash the end of phase 1 of this. And then I'm not really sure. I guess I still have the OSSC Pro, and I do have to give that back soon-ish. So I know people probably still want to see more footage of the morph, right? And especially after Voltar stream. I wouldn't say that he like destroyed it. I did watch some of it, the beginning of it. I didn't say like he was like being what you might expect, like completely negative. I don't think it was really that kind of video. So it's really just kind of finding the weird things that don't work. Really, that's kind of what I'm trying to do now, is test things that are not just hard to test, really. I mean, not even, I don't know if I'll go to the level of being able to, test the hard stuff, but like being able to test stuff where if you had a comparison with one of the other scalars readily available, that's what I'm kind of set up to do. So, all right, I've been rambling. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you back on Sunday for the completed build. I just imagine projects like this and the OpenTendo just all slotting into one big Extron. So you could just toggle between. Yeah, I mean that's a cool idea. I mean, you'd have to figure out like a standard interface, some kind of a analog bus or something. Yeah, that'd be cool. So you could have like a instead of yeah, I mean, imagine an entire computer that is just you sock it onto like a weird VGA backplane or something, and like everything that you put is into a RGB or VGA backplane, and just switch it that way. That's a cool idea. All right, thanks everybody. We will see you on Sunday with part 2.